Hey guys, Mark Spector Comics here, and I want to start today by saying to everyone who has served or is serving or knows someone who is serving, um, thank you for your service and sacrifice to our country, and have a blessed day as today is Memorial Day. And what I want to start with today is a new segment in my channel called Under the Radar or Rising Star. So we're going to talk about either a book or a series of books. We're going to list out a bunch of information, show some books, and then I'll let you guys decide after whether this is an under the radar book or books, or this has potential to be a rising star. So today's segment we're going to talk about Atlas Comics, which as of late has stirred up, a lot of interest, especially with the recent news of, I believe it's Paramount. Yeah, Paramount that has first exclusive rights to the Atlas Comics. So before we even get into that, I just want to, do a quick little recap about Atlas Comics, how it was started, and where they're at today. So basically, Marvel Comics founder, magazine management, publisher Martin Goodman left Marvel in 1972, having sold the company in '68. He created Seaboard Periodicals, which then opened office in June of 1974, which during that time had been, a field dominated by Marvel and DC. So Goodman hired Warren Publishing veteran Jeff Rovin, to edit the color comic book line, and writer-artist Larry Lieber, which most of you already know is the brother of Marvel editor-in-chief Stan Lee. So Atlas, comics started in June of '74, and as we know, ended up going defunct in 1975. They came out with 23 titles in their comic line and 5 titles in their magazine line. So I'm going to go over some of the main books you're going to try to look for, which potentially could have some value. Fast forward 40 years later, in 2010, Martin Goodman's grandson, Jason Goodman, announced a partnership with Ardent Entertainment to relaunch Atlas Comics, starting with two number 0 issues featuring the Grim Ghost and Phoenix, with another character by the name of Wolf the Barbarian. And they ended up starring in a miniseries called Atlas Unified. This was announced back in September of 2011. So going fast forward 9 years later, this past month, May of 2019, the company ended up forming with SP Media Group owning a majority and Goodman retaining an interest in the comics. The new company purchased Atlas characters and intelligent properties from Nemesis Group the same month, with a number of deals to bring the characters to theaters, starting in 2021 with one release each year, with budgets ranging around $60 million. So it's pretty interesting. With a budget that large, you definitely can, get somewhere with these movies. So the plans are to develop 10 story outlines to select one for further development and production. Paramount Pictures, which is, getting to the big news, signed in with the first look contract, which includes development, financing, producing, and distribution rights, with SP Media holding international rights. So Atlas ended up appointing Goodman as head of publishing and executive producer, and Spike Selden as president of production. So it's a little lengthy, but try to recap it as quickly as possible. So going back to the comics that came out back in the mid 70s, like I said, there was 23 of them, and then 5 magazine issues as well. So like I said, I picked up a few books last week. They were all from the comic title line. I'm not a big fan of collecting magazine titles, so they were just the 4 issues I ended up picking up, and these are the 4 I picked up. I believe have potential of being actually picked up to be made a movie, and this is basically what I want to talk about in this new segment. Under the radar rising star is books where I think you guys, the community, could benefit from right now on the this is the C4, as as I say, under the radar, where you guys could get in and potentially at low cost to you ended up scoring down the road. So I have my 4 books here, and I ended up picking these at the local comic shop. I saw a bunch of them on eBay too right off the bat, but I just didn't feel like buying them on eBay at the time. I wanted to see if I can get better deals at the LCS, and all of these I ended up picking up for under $10. So it was a pretty good deal. So I'll start off with the first book. Go on. I guess I'll go alphabetically, and it's the Cougar. Cougar number 1. So this is the first appearance of the Cougar. Basically, he's a stuntman turned hero, and this by no means is not near mint. It's just probably probably a VF copy. And I read the story. So this is like a regular guy stuntman as a living, ends up gaining some powers, and ends up fighting this guy right here, a little vampire, in the main issue. That looks like Hollywood stuntman turned Night Stalker. So it was pretty funny. It almost reminded me of Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat. Stuntman ended up becoming a martial arts badass, fighting the bad guys, especially like Goro. So it was pretty funny. It has that cool factor where I think it could be potentially turned into a movie. All right, the second book I picked up was The Destructor number 1. This one is the first appearance and origin of the Destructor, which is Jay Hunter, and it has the first Slaymaster, which is the villain in the story. And the cool thing about this book, it has Steve Ditko interior art, so which is really nice for a 70s story to have some Steve Ditko art. And I guess the thing with these Atlas comics is a lot of these were modeled after Marvel characters. So in this case, it has the if you can look at it, it has the resemblance of Captain America. So I think that's what they were going after in this story. So if they wanted to kind of go in that route where you start with the first Avenger, and then Atlas goes in their own rendition of it, I could potentially see them doing a Destructor character. The next 2, I think they could definitely go in this way, and this is Iron's Jaw. So Iron Jaw #1. There is, I think, 2 stories in the Atlas Comics that feature Iron Jaw. And this is actually the first one. I think Barbarians is the second one. But Iron Jaw #1, this one I just showed, is the one you're going to look for. And if you look at it closely, it kind of reminds you of, Conan the Barbarian. So I picked this book up for, I think it was $8-9. This is actually a pretty good copy. It's a VF near mint. Could definitely benefit from a pressing to get a better grade. But as you guys already know, the next phase of Marvel is going cosmic. So they have no intentions of using Conan the Barbarian at all. So if Paramount wanted to do a movie, right off the bat I could see Iron Jaw being the first title. It makes sense. You could use somebody in that sense with that character type, and you could definitely get a big name actor, somebody like Dwayne Johnson, to play this character, and then go from there and start basically the whole line. And then the last book is kind of an obscure title, but if they wanted to do something in that, oddball horror, maybe monster genre type, which is always a hot title for moviegoers, is Morlock 2001. So this is the first appearance and origin of Morlock. Man, so he's basically who is it? A man inside of a plant that transfers into a monster. So didn't seem like to have anything similar character-wise towards what Marvel has. It is an obscure title. I didn't get a chance to read the book, but looking at it, definitely caught my eye. So that's why I ended up picking it up at the LCS. But if they definitely wanted to get into something more of the sci-fi, fantasy horror genre, which always piques my interest, I can definitely see them doing a Morlock. Now, mind you, just because of the way the titles are listed in these, they don't have to be called, Morlock or Iron Jaw or Destructor. It just means they have the intelligence property rights to it. They can rename it whatever they want. But those 4 I could definitely see becoming potentials into a movie, with the top 2 being Iron Jaw and Morlock 2001. So, like I said, recap, new segment here called Under the Radar or Rising Star. Me personally, I'm leaning towards Under the Radar because, in the community, there's not much known about these characters. Not much known of what's going to be even made by Paramount, if anything at all. So I'll let you guys decide under the comments below. So it makes this interesting, get some engagement from you guys. And you could also help me out by hitting the like button, sharing it out to other community members, get my opinion out there, my content, because it's going to help you guys out and help get that information out there so you can potentially help you guys out in the long run. So like I said, hit that like, do that share, and if you're not already, hit that subscribe button. And then what I'm going to do, if you like this, I'm going to continue to do some more characters. I have some pretty interesting characters lined up to do more videos on. So my next one is going to be actually Namor. So stick around, let me know what you think, and until next time, happy Memorial Day. Thanks again to all you veterans out there who have served, actively serving, and the family members out there to support. Alright, so like I said, next week, stay tuned. It's going to be Namor the Submariner. Until next time, this is Mark Spector Comics.